Come closer. The hollow has something for you tonight. The wind has no name in this place. It moves through the grass like a whisper too tired to be a warning. You feel it first in the soles of your feet, a quiet shift, as though the ground has loosened something beneath it. The house stands alone. 3 windows on the front, one always dark, a porch with soft rot in the wood, though you never hear it creak. And shingles that rattle only when you're asleep. It was empty for years. They told you, too far from town, too close to the fog. Yet it seems lived in, smells like dried lavender, with a hint of something faintly metallic. If your breath slows and the dark feels safe, follow my voice and subscribe. There's something soft about the walls, not in touch. They're wooden, weathered, but in presence, they seem to breathe gently when your back is turned. You sleep on the 2nd floor. The bed faces the east window, the one that always seems to fog from the inside. At night, the air tastes of salt, though there's no sea nearby. On your 3rd night, you wake at 3:03 a.m., not to a noise, but to a pause, like the house had been breathing, and stopped. You lie very still, the kind of still that makes your skin remember being younger, when stillness meant listening. Then, the smallest sigh, not from you, below your bed, below the floorboards. A breath that does not belong to the wind. The next morning, nothing's moved. Not really, but the mirror in the hallway is cracked now. A single line across the center, like something tried to reach out. You tell yourself it was always that way. You've been tired. The house is just old, but the corners, they hold onto the shadows longer than they should. One curtain always shifts, even when the window is closed. And the ceiling in the living room has a stain you didn't notice before, spiral-shaped, like a seed trying to bloom, when you pass by the hallway. Sometimes you hear footsteps, but only when your hand is on the banister. That night, as you drift off again, you whisper aloud, "Why did you stop breathing?" And the room around you exhales. The next night, it begins again. You stir just before the clock and blink 3:03 a.m., as though something inside you now keeps time differently. At first, all is still, but then a sound, not loud, not sharp. Soft, deliberate, measured. A knock, then another, always 3, always slow. Beneath the floorboards, under your bed, as if the house is tapping a memory out of its bones. You sit up. The air is thicker tonight, damp at the edges, like a breath caught in moss. The window glows faintly blue, though no moon peers through. You wait. The knocks come again, same rhythm, same number. 3 slow taps, then silence. You whisper, a greeting, half laughing at yourself, but the house does not laugh back. Instead, something answers, a shift of weight in the walls, a soft scrape, like fingernails across old wood. You rise and place your bare feet on the floor. The boards are warm, not heated, but warm, like something alive has passed through. You trace the sound. It always comes from beneath. Yet the cellar, when you open it the next day, holds nothing but stone and stillness. No signs of creatures, no burrows, only a faint indentation in the dust, an oval shape, like a small bed or a nest. That evening, you sit in the center of the room before sleep. You tap 3 times on the floor. You wait at first. Nothing. Then 1 tap. Only 1. But it comes not from the same spot. It echoes from behind the wall. You press your ear to the floor. Silence again. And just as you pull away, you feel it. Not a sound, a vibration, a low hum beneath everything, as though something old is slowly turning over, waking up. Stretching its memory. Later, in your dreams, you walk through a hallway that keeps lengthening, and behind every door is the sound of tapping. Not menacing, not urgent, but expectant. When you wake, your feet are dirty, and there's dust on your hands. You do not recall leaving the bed. You notice it again on the 5th morning, a subtle wrongness. The mirror by the stairs, long and narrow. Its frame is carved with unfamiliar shapes. Some floral, some not. You hadn't paid it much mind, just another relic from the houses. Earlier life. But now, when you pass it, your reflection is just slightly behind. Not lagging, not delayed, but watching. You test it, just to be sure. A tilt of the head, the mirror matches. A raised hand, no delay, but your gaze, it does not move when you do. Your eyes inside the glass seem fixed on something, just past your shoulder. That night, the knocking changes. 3 taps beneath the floorboards, yes, but then a 4th, softer, from the wall where the mirror hangs. You place your ear to the wood beside it. Nothing. Silence as still as old fog. But the glass is cold. Colder than the rest of the house. And for a moment, you see condensation, not on the mirror itself, but within, shapes form in the misted reflection. Lines that do not match the room dot an extra arch. A sconce that isn't there. A hallway that curves left. When yours does not, you step back, heart calm but curious. Still, the mirror shows your hallway, but with more to it. A length that doesn't exist in waking space. You touch the frame. It tingles, faint, like a memory you haven't yet had. You cover the mirror with a cloth before sleep. That night, you dream of a child's voice humming through the halls, tugging gently at the corners of your coat. No face, just the sensation of being accompanied and watched. When you wake, the cloth is gone, folded neatly on the floor, and the mirror is no longer cracked, but now the hallway behind you in the reflection has an open door at the end. You turn quickly, but there is no door. Not yet. The house has a quiet way of changing Dot. It doesn't creak when it shifts. It doesn't announce its decisions. You wake, and there it is, Dot, at the far end of the upstairs hallway. Where yesterday there had only been wallpaper and plaster, a door now stands, narrower than the others, paler. Its wood is pale, almost bone-colored, with a handle made of something too dark to name Dot. It doesn't look new, but it doesn't look old either. More like it has always existed, just outside your noticing. The mirror confirms it. Now, when you glance its way, the reflection matches what's in front of you. No longer any discrepancies. Only a hallway with one more destination. You don't touch the door at first, you walk by it slowly, each time pretending not to glance. But you do. You check it in the morning, still there. You check it at dusk, still closed by the third night. Something changes. You feel warmth when you stand beside it. The door seems to emit a gentle heat, like soil kissed by late sun. Or the space beside a sleeping animal. You place your hand against it. It hums, almost imperceptibly. A vibration deep inside the grain, like a heart, far beneath the wood. That night, your dreams deepen. You walk the hallway of the mirror again, but this time the door opens for you. No hand turns the knob. It simply swings inward. Inside, the smell of pine needles and wet stone. You awaken with the taste of moss on your tongue and dirt beneath your fingernails. The next morning, you find something placed before the door. A small, folded scrap of paper, unmarked but damp at the edges. Inside, a single drawn symbol. 3 spirals connected by a line. You've seen it before, carved into the edge of the mirror frame. And again, faintly, in the pattern of the living room stain. That afternoon, you finally turn the handle. The door opens without resistance. Hinges smooth, silent, as if expecting your hand. Beyond, a new room. Small, round, walls paneled with warm wood. Grain swirling like the inside of a seashell. A desk, a lantern, and a chair turned slightly away, as though someone had just risen. It doesn't smell like dust. It smells like earth. And the quiet sound of breathing. Not yours. Not now. But something once here, still echoing in the warmth of the air. The lantern still glows when you return. You hadn't lit it. You're sure of that. It rests on the edge of the small desk. Its light low and golden, like candlelight seen through river water. The room feels closer than it did yesterday, as if it adjusted itself, just slightly, to fit you. You step inside again, slower this time, and as you cross the threshold, a warmth spreads across your chest. Not heat. Exactly, but a sensation like memory returning. Not yours. The walls curve inward gently, making the space feel like a shell, or the inside of a hollowed tree. You run your fingers along the paneling. The wood here is different, softer, with a strange resilience. Almost as if it could breathe back at you, if you pressed hard enough. The floor is smooth, the grain in spirals. At the center, faintly scratched into the surface, the same symbol as before. 3 spirals, 1 line, a mark meant to be stood on. The chair, when you approach it, rocks slightly, not with your touch, but as though it remembers being sat in. You pause. The air smells of pine needles, wet stone, old leaves, the scent of forest floors at the edge of a long-forgotten season. You take in the contents of the room. On the desk, aside from the lantern, a sealed inkwell, dusty but full a single black feather. Uncut and 3 small stones arranged in a triangle are no drawers. No visible shelves, but the walls seem to hold presence, like they've absorbed the contents of thoughts left unspoken. You sit in the chair it welcomes your weight, without a creak. Just a soft sigh, the kind the house makes when it's listening. The lantern flickers once, then steadies. It's like casts new shapes against the wall, not shadows, more like afterimages. Figures bent in quiet positions, some sitting, some curled. One, always in the corner, with its hand extended toward the wall, where a faint circle is burned into the wood. You try not to look too long at that one. You whisper something. You don't know what, but the room hears it. And the circle begins to glow, soft at first, then pulsing, like a heartbeat you'd forgotten you had. Behind you, the door closes. No wind, no movement. It simply decides. You do not panic. Strangely, you feel held, like being cradled in the hollow of a giant's hand. The chair shifts again, and you realize the desk is not fixed. It's been moved before. Marks on the floor show. Arcs, paths, where the chair and desk were turned again and again, like a ritual not yet complete. You stand, walk to the far wall, and place your palm on the circle. It's warm. Your fingers tingle. And then, the faintest hum beneath your feet. The same low frequency that sometimes comes from the house at night. You whisper again. This time, it's a name. You're not sure whose. It just comes out of you, as though drawn forward by the air in this place. The lantern flares, then dims, and a new object appears on the desk. A photograph, faded at the edges, sepia-toned. A young child in front of the house, but the house is different, taller. A turret where there is none now. 3 windows, 1 dark, as always. And standing behind the child, a figure, nearly out of frame, faceless, or perhaps the face has faded with time, but the figure's hand rests on the child's shoulder, and on its ring finger, a spiral mark carved into the skin. You place the photo back, and suddenly, a rustling behind the wall, soft, like pages turning. You press your ear to the panel. Not. It appears the next morning, neatly placed on your pillow. Not a book you recognize, not something you brought. Bound in thick, dusky leather, the kind that darkens when held, with a subtle symbol embossed in the center. The 3 spirals. Again, but this time encircled by a ring of ash-colored leaves. You open it slowly, no name, no title, only a first page, inscribed in small, careful script. This house forgets nothing, but sometimes it dreams. The handwriting is neither neat nor hurried. It reads like a whisper. Purposeful, private, written in low light by a hand that had no time to wait for dawn. The entries begin fragmented, disjointed sentences, lists of names with no context, maps without landmarks, dream recollections that end mid-thought. The room asked me a question last night. I think I answered in sleep. He came back again, though he never knocks. When I stepped into the mirror, I was 8. Some pages are burned at the edges, others smudged with fingerprints that seem damp, though the paper is dry. You read until the lantern dims beside you, even in daylight. Later, you return to the new room with the journal pressed to your chest. It feels heavier now, not in weight, but in meaning. The desk welcomes it, as though it belonged there all along. When you place it down, the feather, once untouched, rises slightly, moves just a little, tilts toward the ink. You take it. In your hand, it fits. Not like a tool, but like a memory. You dip it into the ink without hesitation. The ink drinks deeply, smooth and thick. You do not plan to write, but your hand begins. Not in words you recognize, but spirals, lines, symbols that appear familiar even as you draw them for the first time. Something in the room responds. A gustless breeze, a ripple in the lantern flame, and a sound. Just barely audible, a sigh not mechanical, not natural, more like the sigh of a room releasing something it had held too long. You flip forward in the journal, and there it is, a page you hadn't turned to before. Dated not with a number, but a symbol. 3 spirals. A line, and beneath it, your name, but you've never written it there. The entry reads, she came, as they always do. Curiosity leads. Listening follows. The house remembers her voice already. You stare at the page, heart steady, not calm, not afraid, but aware. Outside the new room, the hallway stretches longer than you recall. The mirror's reflection now shows 2 doors at the end. You blink. Still only one. When you turn, you hear something in the walls again. Not the whispering. This time, it's scratching, but not frantic, not desperate. More like etching. A sound of someone drawing. You lean close, and behind the paneling, a voice, yours from last night. You whisper again, a single word. Why? And the wall replies, in breath you cannot feel, to make room for the rest of you. You sit back, the journal still open, on the inside back cover. A phrase has appeared. Leave this open before sleep. It prefers to read what you dream. That night, you do as instructed. You leave the journal open beside you, its last page exposed to the lantern's hush. Sleep finds you in fragments. First your hands grow heavy, then your breath flattens into a rhythm you don't recognize as your own. And then the house begins to whisper. Not aloud, not in the way voices travel through air, but through the walls. It starts as a shiver across the grain, wood not creaking, but speaking. Syllables shaped from tension, resonating through beams like the soft murmur of tide water trapped beneath ice. You lie still, eyes closed, listening. The words come slowly, not in English, not in any language, but the meaning is clear. Not thoughts, memories. And not yours. Visions press gently into your dreams, quiet and damp like moss beneath cloth. You're walking through a room with no roof, just sky above, stitched with stars that move when you blink. Your hands are younger here. Your voice is gone. You open a drawer that does not belong to any furniture, Inside, a bone charm knotted with faded blue string. A whisper coils around your ear. Bury this under the lantern's glow. You don't ask why. You dig with your hands, dirt soft as flour. And as you place the charm in the soil, a shadow detaches from the tree behind you and follows you home. When you wake, your fingernails are black with dirt. There is pine on your pillow, and the journal now shows a sketch. A hand holding a charm just like the one from your dream. The words beneath read, she remembers now. The house heard her dream. You rise before dawn. The house is quiet still, but the walls, they've changed. Shadows move in them, now. Not on them. In them, when the lantern light flickers, the silhouettes seem to lag behind. One shadow moves, then another. But there is no one in the hallway. You approach the corner by the stairs, the place where the crack in the mirror used to be. The air is colder there. And on the wall, faint, almost erased, a child's handprint, smaller than yours, but elongated, not quite human. You reach out to trace it. The moment your fingers touch the mark, the journal, still on the desk in the other room, slams shut. Not from wind, not from falling. It closes itself. When you return, nothing has moved, except one thing. On the wall opposite the desk, beneath a curtain you never hung, is now a mirror. Not like the hallways. Smaller, round. But when you look into it, you don't see yourself. You see a hallway. And at the end of it, a door that opens on its own. And inside, you. Sleeping. From the mirror's view. The air thickens. You speak, softly. Who's dreaming this? And the lantern answers. Its flame curls sideways, like it's bowing, to something behind you. You do not turn. You only whisper. I'll keep listening. And from the walls, a gentle reply. Then we'll keep speaking. You try to extinguish it 3 times across 3 nights. Each time, the lantern flickers, waits for your breath to settle, and relights itself. Not with a spark, but with a slow, amber bloom. Like fire whispered into being from the folds of a forgotten dream. On the 4th night, you stop trying. Instead, you carry it. You lift the handle, smooth, heavier now, and let its glow guide you through the house's deepest hush. The light does something strange to the walls. Where shadows once loitered, now the corners bloom with markings, carvings that shimmer only beneath the lantern's gaze. They are not letters. Not exactly. Swirls. Branches. Eyes. Some marks resemble constellations you can't quite name. Others pulse when you draw near, like veins in stone. The hallway mirrors them. Each step forward reveals more. Under your bedroom window, a ring of symbols. By the old fireplace, a sketch of 3 figures. Kneeling, heads bowed toward the floor. And just beneath the stairwell, a spiral, large, etched deep into the beam, as though clawed there. Not carved. You crouch and place the lantern before it. The glow pulses once, then flares wider. The spiral moves, not visibly, but perceptibly. A shift in perception, like something beneath it is turning, slowly. In the dark, you feel it in your teeth. You lift the lantern again and head toward the room. The room, the one that was not there a week ago. Its door is ajar. Inside. The mirror has changed. No longer a window to the hallway. Now it shows beneath the house. Soil, stone, and roots. So many roots, pulsing gently in the lantern light's reflection. You kneel. The journal lies open on the desk. New ink curls across the page as you watch. The roots remember warmth. The house grew. It for you. You look to the far corner, the place where shadows used to linger deepest. Now, there's a new marking there. A circle, surrounded by carved runes. The language feels half known, like a song your grandmother might have hummed while shelling beans. And at its center, a shallow indent, a nesting place. The lantern's light leans toward it, as if eager. You lower the lantern into the circle, and it stays. Glows brighter. The walls answer with a hum. Soft, low, like a lullaby for the bones beneath your feet. Then silence, but not emptiness. Anticipation. You step back. The lantern continues to burn, but now it casts no shadow at all. Only warmth. Only glow. And as you turn to leave, you see it, carved above the room's doorway, invisible until this moment, a phrase in curling script. This light remembers the first sleep. You close the door behind you, and as you walk away, the house sighs, and somewhere, beneath the floorboards, something shifts again. You don't find the staircase. It finds you. You're dusting the edge of the wardrobe in the new room, the one no one built, when your fingers press just a little too firmly against the back panel. And the wood gives dot not collapses, not breaks dot opens dot a seam, invisible before, splits gently apart like a breath being held for too long and finally exhaled dot behind it. Darkness, but not an empty dark, a passage descending. You fetch the lantern, still burning, still warm dotted flickers. Once, then steadies, as if it knew you'd need it for this. The first step is stone, the second, earth, the third, something in between. The staircase curves downward, not in a spiral, but a soft collapse, a slow folding of space into itself. You descend. The air grows thick. Velvet dark, carrying scents of wet leaves, dried bloodroot. Distant water dot the walls glisten, not with moisture, but with something like oil, or memory dot as you go deeper. The carvings reappear. Symbols echo those upstairs, but older, less refined, more desperate. A scrawl here, a scratch there. One reads, "What was buried still dreams." Another, "The house remembers for us." The air hums, but not from sound. From presence dot, as though the space remembers you. Not from this life, but from the weight of your shape. You reach the bottom. A chamber, round and hollowed by hand. The earth here is soft. Not muddy, but springy underfoot, like peat dot in the center. A circle of stones, each carved with spirals. Inside the circle, nothing, but the nothing hums. You step closer. And the lantern dims, not from lack of fuel, but from deference. A bowing of flame. You kneel at the edge. Your fingers press into the earth dot, its warm dot, and then something beneath shifts. Slowly, like an old animal turning in its sleep, the dirt moves. A breath comes up from below dot, and then you see it, just barely rising from the soil, a piece of fabric. You brush it away dot, it's a sleeve. Faint, tattered, woven with symbols you recognize from the journal. You do not dig further. Not yet. You sit. You place the lantern before you. And you whisper, "What do you want to show me?" The dirt responds, not in words, but in motion. A soft collapse inward, a settling of time, and a voice. Not loud, but within you. The room was not grown for you. It was grown from you. You blink. The stone circle glows faintly. The earth hums louder dot, and behind you, from the staircase, footsteps dot light. Bare dot not yours. You do not turn dot instead. You close your eyes and say, I remember. And in that moment, the house stops breathing. Only for a moment, but it's enough to know it heard you. When you return upstairs, the new room is no longer new. Its walls pulse with familiarity, as though they've taken your scent, your breath, and turned them into architecture. The lantern remains in the earth below, yet its glow persists here. Subtle but constant. Everything is warmer, but it's not comfort you feel. It's recognition. The desk holds new objects now, not placed, grown, a folded length of pale cloth, stitched with the spiral motif, smelling faintly of rosewater and ash, a smooth stone, black as night, cold to the touch, but humming faintly when held near the heart. And the journal, now open to its final page. You didn't turn it. The ink is still drying. It reads. She is the seed. She is the door. She is the house remembering itself. You try to step back, but the floor yields beneath your feet, not collapsing, just shifting. As though the house has made room for this moment. The mirror no longer shows your reflection. Instead, it holds an image of the room, empty, still, but different. The desk gone, the lantern dark, only the chair remains, facing the door. You blink. The chair is gone here, too, but the door is closing. You rush forward, but your legs feel slow, like moving through syruped light. The handle turns on its own. And from behind the wood, a voice, not yours, not the house's, a blend of both. It says, "Stay." You stop. Your breath echoes 3 times. And then you understand. You have not been exploring the house. You have been becoming it. Piece by piece. Memory by memory, the structure has reshaped to contain what you bring. It is not haunted. It is inhabited. By the fragments you cast off in waking, by the questions you never voiced, by the rooms you wished had existed when you needed them most. And now they do. You sit where the chair once was. The floor supports you like a heartbeat. And slowly, the room begins to fold again. Not shrink. Bloom. Panels stretch outward. Walls pull gently apart. The ceiling softens like dusk falling through silk. And on the far side, a new doorway forms. Tall. Narrow. No knob. Just shadow. Just promise. The house does not speak, but it waits. You rise. You place your palm on the spiral above the frame, and for a moment you hear laughter. Not loud. Just behind your ear. Familiar. Yours. But younger. From before the forgetting. The doorway opens. Light spills out. Cool. Pale. Like moonlight through water. You step through. And the room, the house, closes behind you. No sound. No wind. Just a breath. And a promise you will not be alone in this remembering. Rest now. Let the sound of shifting wood cradle your thoughts. Let the hush of root and stone lull your bones. The room has you now dotted grew from your shadow. It shaped itself from the corners of dreams you forgot to carry back. Every floorboard echoes your name in a tongue you used to speak. Every whisper from the walls is a reminder. You are heard, even in your quietest silence. Let your breath mirror the house's rhythm. Slow, gentle, like the swing of an old rocking chair in a room no one dares lock. Let the spiral turn. Let the memory bloom. Let the light beneath you grow dim until only the pulse remains, soft, steady, safe. And if you wake, know this, the room will still be there dotted always has been. The tale has ended. Now sleep, if you can. I'll be just beyond the veil, listening.